At the 2013 America's Cup in San Francisco, the Challenger, Emirates Team New Zealand, was widely considered the faster boat throughout the regatta. They built a dominating 8-1 lead in the first 2-9 series against Oracle Team USA, and often clearly showed superior upwind speed. Yet they shockingly lost the cup 9-8. The Oracle team pulled off one of the most stunning upsets in all of sports, and with a slower boat. How could that have been? The reason is revealing. Most non-One Design racing sailors believe that the main difference between One Design racing and all other competitive sailing is simply that the boats are identical. Stick with us. You'll see that this misconception is not only way oversimplified, but it is deeply flawed. You'll discover how One Design is really in a different topsy-turvy world altogether, where fastest doesn't always mean first. Welcome back to Sailing Team Tally Ho, where my crew has asked me really good questions, and I've just had to say, I don't know. But I follow that up with some research and get some answers, both for them and for me. So join us for a few minutes. Today's question was, what's the real difference between One Design racing and handicap racing? And which do you ultimately prefer? To answer that, what I want to do today is dispel some of the misunderstandings that newcomers have and highlight what I truly believe drives success in One Design and in its new surge in prestige and popularity. But before I go too far, I want to explain to the newcomer what a One Design and its alternative, a handicap, or sometimes called a time-corrected race, is. One Design refers to when boats are of a similar and strictly controlled design, all the way down to the construction materials and gear, and sometimes even the weight of the crew allowed. All in an effort to try to make things as equal as possible between competitors. One Design racing can take place within a match, and that's 1-on-1, team, 3-on-3, and fleet, as in one-on-many, such as a club level setting, with each of these very different within themselves. But that's for another video. Handicap racing, on the other hand, is sort of like a golf game. It attempts to compensate for the differing capabilities between boats and allows them to race together with reasonable fairness, with a race elapsed time correction. I'll start by saying that neither system is perfect, but are they fair? People often think that all One Design boats are absolutely identical to each other. Therefore, it all comes down to strategy and tactics, and not the wallet, as they say. Which is true to a point, but oh so terribly false at another. The first real One Design boat was the Waterwag in 1887 in Dublin, Ireland, which still races on a weekly basis today, by the way. So the idea of evening the playing field by trying to make the boats the same has been around for a while. While the goal has always been to make things as uniform as possible, we need to keep in mind that all of these early boats were built by hand in small workshops. Every one was a work of art, and each a little bit different. And some were definitely better than others. Today's store-bought boats, built with computer numerical control and molds, have greatly narrowed the differences. But the concept that there are fast and slow hulls within a class of One Design boats is still very much with us, and for good reason. So let's get into it. But before that, I'd like to ask, if you like this content, please click the like and subscribe. It helps me to keep these going. The only thing I'm selling here is the sport itself. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, no AI here, either voice or video. So the first myth we've just dispelled here is that One Design Racing is all about sailing identical boats. But people also get it wrong by assuming it's all about the slight differences between boats. They think if you've got a good hull, you're the fastest and set to win. Oh, but if it were only that simple. Just ask Team Emirates New Zealand. The catch is, near identical boats means very, very few gear excuses, especially in tightly controlled One Design classes, like the J70, which means that sailing mistakes tend to be greatly magnified in a One Design setting. Why? Handicap races are timed and corrected, and let's say a sloppy tack costs a couple of seconds. Over the space of hours, this is usually pretty inconsequential, and it can even just time correct right out of the standings. But in a One Design race, where only the photo finish matters, a mistake of just a few feet can easily mean the difference between first and fifth place. I was in a multi-day One Design regatta where we figured that the first place boat won by winning one of the 10 races by less than a boat length. As a result, one of the major mistakes I've seen newcomers make in One Design is that when their strategy and tactics are weak, they blame the gear and not the skill limitation. Ultimately, however, the race course will be the judge. But hold on to that thought. I believe that out of this can evolve one of the most distinctive qualities of a good One Design skipper. The next myth I'd like to dispel is that speed is everything in One Design. While this is important both in handicap and One Design racing, it is sometimes not the most important thing in One Design. Why? Because in One Design, finishing in front of your competition is the most important. And that is a difference. A big, big difference. Often the best tactical move is to cover your competition, even if it slows you down. Newcomers to One Design will sometimes ignore this and do a go-for-broke flyer well away from the rest of the fleet, thinking that they'll ultimately get the glory with pure speed. The crazy thing is that they may actually be faster on that flyer. And it can make sense in a handicap race situation, but by itself in One Design, it rarely comes out well. One Design racing is a calculated game of strategy and tactics against opponents, like a chess game. Slam dunks, loose and close covering, mark traps, are all the names of plays that are all part of the game. Handicap racing, on the other hand, is much more about sailing the boat to its rating. In other words, as fast as possible at all times. I recall an offshore handicap race where we saw our competition at the starting line and never saw them again for hundreds of miles. We finished about 2 hours ahead of them, but still lost to them corrected by about 15 minutes. It made us reflect on things we could have done, but we didn't know what to do to reduce our time by that 15 minutes. Maybe it's that reef we didn't take out at 4 a.m. when the crew was tired. This is a totally different game than a One Design race, even if the race in One Design would have been of the same length and course. Now, I've just talked about how speed isn't always the most important thing in One Design. That is, unless you don't have it. Well-matched One Design boats are by design very competitive to each other, so the hulls and spars taken by themselves are going to be pretty equal. So how do you get that speed advantage then? But this is where I think One Design is unforgiving but rewarding. Every tack, jibe, set, sail trim must be polished to perfection. Not doing a roll jibe can mean half a boat length, even in light airs. So there you go. Every tactical move must be soundly executed, not just casual guesses. And a poor tactical decision can put you behind a boat, even if it's by inches. And no compromise on the boat itself can be accepted as good enough either. The tune of the rig and halyard tensions must be meticulously and constantly calibrated to the conditions. And the hull must be perfectly smooth. Every sheet should have a hand on it at all times, constantly moving. The two pitfalls I've seen with One Design skippers is either they gloss over imperfections as irrelevant when they are really not, or the opposite, where a skipper gets into what in aeronautical training is called a failure fixation, where they blame their losses either on something that really isn't or can't be the problem. Unfortunately, this sometimes slides downhill to the innocent crew. The handicap systems, however, don't care about any of these details directly. It doesn't know anything about the tune of the boat, how well the sails are being trimmed, the competence of the crew, and so on. They are based on performance benchmarks made over a long period of time, constrained by a set of design rules, which means that in a handicap race, you still want to polish these aspects of your race, but it is measured by a totally different yardstick, the elapsed time since the start. And yes, that makes a big difference. Which system do I think is better? Yeah, I think it totally depends on the situation. Handicap racing allows boats of many different sizes and capabilities to race together, where otherwise it's just not possible. The skipper just needs to remember that they are chasing the clock, not so much their other competitors directly. One Design racing is against each other. The pointy end of your boat being 2 feet behind your competition is still second place. How you eliminate that and get ahead is the total name of the game. Okay, I'm finally going to answer the question that Sailing Team Tally-Ho originally asked me. About time! And that is, which racing form do I prefer? If given a choice, I prefer One Design. I believe it hones the skills and provides the close competitive experience that is very difficult to duplicate in a handicap setting. The ultimate rewards for those who persevere in it surpasses any other type of sailing competition, hands down, in my opinion. But that's just me. I own a One Design sonar class boat in a very active fleet that I enjoy sailing with. How about you? What are your preferences and ideas on this? And what's coming next on Sailing Team Tally-Ho? We'll get into one of the most important soft skills that I believe make a good skipper and crew. Until then, get on a boat and learn to sail.